But this part is a fact. I'm not even at my theory yet. This part is a fact. The Canadian trucker protest is the only protest in the history, well, in the last 2 years of COVID, the only protest that legitimately scared the powers that be, the elites who run the world, certainly the Western world. And I know what you're probably saying right now, but Jesse, we had some protests here in America, or didn't you see the big demonstrations in France? No. Understand this. I understand other countries, Australia, France, a bunch of them, have had large street demonstrations where people go out and they have the signs and they chant and whatnot. And I get that. And I'm not saying there's nothing to that. Good. If you participated, good for you. But understand, the powers that be are still there looking down at the protests from their penthouse apartments, surrounded by armed guards. And okay, occupy the main street square. It's not really affecting anything tangible. Nothing tangible, nothing you can hold in your hand or put in your mouth. We're getting to that in a moment. A trucker protest is significantly different. A trucker protest has the ability to stop a country. All right, understand this. Truckers, you can make the argument, truckers are the most important people in your entire country. More important than the government. Doctors, military, cops, nurses, teachers. I know there's a long list of these jobs we consider to be important. I got it. I'm not actually bad-mouthing any of those professions. But again, we've done this before. I want you to think about this. I want you to look around you right now, wherever you are, wherever you're watching me here on the First. How many of the things around you have at one point been on a truck? The chances are strong, all of it. Probably everything you're looking at. I'm looking at everything right now. We got studio lights and TVs and a desk here. I got a coffee cup. There's a bunch of wire thingies, and this was all trucked here. Everything. We got a little kitchen here in the studio. Everything on the truck. Couch over there. Truck. Truckers make the world go. What if truckers joined together and stopped trucking? Stay with me. So these truckers descend on Ottawa, and it's a large protest. Right off the bat, it was large. It's getting larger by the day. We'll get to that. Right off the bat, it was large. And now we're approaching our theory portion. We know Justin Trudeau went into hiding for his safety.
Individuals are trying to blockade our economy, our democracy, and our fellow citizens' daily lives. It has to stop.
Okay. He goes into hiding for fear of his safety, and then emerges, and he's speaking stronger than he's ever spoken against these trucker protests. Not even a slight extended hand, nothing. This has to stop. Now, it's theory portion. And I want to be clear, I have no information whatsoever to back this up. No inside information. I don't have a source. Sometimes I do have sources. I don't have anything. This is just what went through my head last night. We do know that we have a globalist problem in the West. And what is a globalist? Globalism. The word is thrown around a ton these days, but it's really not complicated. All the leaders, billionaires, politicians of the Western countries, the more free countries, they hate that. The freedom portion. Because remember, freedom means they don't get to tell you what to do. Well, they despise that. These people believe they are above you. They believe they should be able to rule as kings and queens. And they don't have any loyalty to their own country. This is where the globalist thing comes in. Justin Trudeau has no loyalty to Canada. Joe Biden has no affinity for America. None whatsoever. They have affinity for each other because that's where their strength is found. So all the Western leaders, that's why they're always talking about crazy things and more control here. They've all decided, hey, let's just join together and we'll figure out a way to get the power we want. We'll figure out a way to crush that pesky freedom. Justin Trudeau is a globalist. He goes into hiding. This is what I say happened. I say the powers that be knocked on his door, called him on the phone. This was all done, I'm sure, back channels and lackeys. But I say the powers that be got with Justin Trudeau and had a conversation that went something like this. Hey, Justin, these protests in Canada, they aren't just bad. They're really, really dangerous. Not just for you, for all of us. If you fold and bow to the truckers occupying Ottawa, this has easily the potential to catch on everywhere. Today's Canada trucker protest could easily be America's tomorrow, France, Germany, Italy, Australia. Revolutions, remember, historically, revolutions have a history of catching on from nation to nation to nation. They go like wildfire, ugly ones and good ones. I think they got to Justin Trudeau and told him on no uncertain terms are you to bow and fold. You are to hold your ground, and at all costs, you cannot let these truckers win. The world, the peasants, you, me, we cannot have our eyes witness truckers rise up and strike down the global elite. That's my theory. And that's my theory on why he came back and said those words right there. I believe going forward from here, I believe it gets ugly. And let's keep in mind, when we talk about things like globalist or Great Reset and things like that, these are billed as internet conspiracy theories. These people use those words. They use those words, Great Reset and all these other things. And let's remember, Klaus Schwab, the head of the World Economic Forum, who's really at the center of so much of this, he basically came out a few years ago, 2017, and said, yeah, Justin Trudeau, he's our inside globalist boy.
What we are very proud of now, the young generation, like Prime Minister Trudeau, President of Argentina and so on, is that we penetrate the cabinets. So yesterday I was at a reception for Prime Minister Trudeau, and I know that half of this cabinet, or even more half of this cabinet, are for our actually young global leaders of the World Economic Forum.
We penetrate the cabinets? I'm sorry? We have our people everywhere? I swear the guy is the James Bond movie come to life, but there it is. That's him saying it. Okay, so what am I saying? Where am I saying this is going? Let's say I'm right on my theory. Let's say Justin Trudeau showed back up after his hiding for his safety, and he started speaking so strongly because there's no way he bows to the trucker protests. Well, that's a problem because that trucker protest that started out as huge has grown. Remember, this is not one of these things that's here today and gone tomorrow. The numbers are growing. Every day, people are flocking into Ottawa and backing them up. We had people on horseback the other day coming in. Something's got to give. The Ottawa police, they've already shown themselves to be more than willing to beat these people up and hound them, but they don't have the numbers. Remember that great Napoleon quote, quantity has a quality all its own. They don't have the numbers to put down a protest of this size, not even close. They can't even, it's nothing. So if you're Justin Trudeau, this protest must stop. You can't be seen to fold. Where do you go from here? This is obviously still my theory portion. I say Justin Trudeau calls in the military, Canadian military at the very least. I say Justin Trudeau sends his troops in against his own citizens and begins mass arrests and incarcerations. Look, you can say this sounds far-fetched, but I'm paying attention to what's being said out there, and it sure seems like some people want the military called in.
Prime Minister, are you willing to call into the military, sir? Everyone? Will you call in the military, Prime Minister?
They're saying it. Not just in Canada either. This is, again, remember, everything's global here. Nations matter to you and me, but they don't matter to these people. American media is out there saying it.
There's a state of emergency in place in Ottawa where the police chief says COVID protests are a, quote, nationwide insurrection driven by madness. Thousands of Canadians, you see the pictures there, protesting vaccine mandates. It started with a so-called freedom convoy led by truckers protesting a new mandate requiring vaccines in order to enter the country. CNN's Paula Newton live for us now in Ottawa with the latest. Remarkable protest, Paula.
Absolutely remarkable. I mean, just think of the language. I know it sounds familiar to you, right? A threat to democracy, an insurrection, sedition.
Insurrection? Sedition? These are the words that governments use when they're getting ready to use an overabundance of force against their own citizens. Look at the January 6th protesters still languishing in Washington, D.C. gulags as we speak. This is the language they use. Okay, so let's game this out as long as we're on my crazy conspiracy theory rant here. What happens? You bring in the military, heads get busted, undoubtedly. That's just inevitable when you have the military mobilizing against its own citizens, a bunch of freedom-loving citizens. People get hurt. Almost undoubtedly, people will die. Let's say they do round them up. Let's say they do incarcerate them. Well, going forward for Canada, okay, you may have taken care of a short-term problem. We got rid of those pesky freedom-loving truckers. We still got a bunch of trucks here. And those trucks not only have to be removed from Ottawa, those trucks have to get back out on the Canadian roads and American roads and start taking goods there and back and there and back. Goods must be moved to and fro. You just locked up all the truckers. How are you going to do that? Who's going to drive those trucks? You know, driving a truck isn't as simple as unlocking your phone and sending a text message. Military going to try to do that? Going to have a bunch of Canadian military clerks trying to drive semis up and down the road? I say Canada, I say there's a chance Canada, for the public health, of course, begins to nationalize industries. Full-blown communism now. No, well, we got to get the trucks going. Look, we're just going to seize the trucking industry. We'll seize that industry. Oh, the banks are mad about it. We'll seize those too. You can say I'm crazy. I hope I am crazy. I hope none of this stuff comes true. I know I've been right a lot. This is the last thing I want to be right about. Hey, thanks so much for watching The First on YouTube. If you liked what you saw, go ahead and like and subscribe. You heard me. Like it, subscribe. You'll get a lot more of it and a lot more of me.